Hi, welcome back to the Following Jesus series. Today I want to talk about what is prayer. And then just give a basic model for prayer for you to follow so that your prayer life is as rich as it can be. So basic definition of prayer is conversation that we have with God. It's not just talking to God, but it's talking with God. So that means there's an aspect of learning to hear God's voice, being expectant that He would talk to you back. Sometimes that's going to be like just a feeling. Today for me in my own time with the Lord, it just was peace. I just felt peace. Sometimes I might actually hear in my mind, not like an audible voice, like a phrase, some instruction, or a word, or sometimes it's just an emotion that I might feel compelled to move in some way, to pray for someone or do something. But quite often when I'm hearing God, it's happening when I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading it and the Holy Spirit moves in me and something in my spirit reacts and God's talking to me through the scriptures. So that's what we're talking about, prayer, conversation with God. He loves to hear your heart. It's easy though, because we're kind of a narcissistic culture, for our conversations with God to be very self-centered, to maybe be one-sided or all about, almost like a vending machine. Give me all these things that I want. And so I'm going to present to you today just like a model, or like I hate to call it a checklist, but it kind of is, a way to move through prayer so that it's well-rounded and whole. So I call it large tacos. Large tacos. Generally, I've been taught the TACOS model. It stands for thanksgiving, adoration, confession, praying for others, and praying for self. But I just really think it's important that we remember that prayer is also listening to God. So I added the large so I can get an L in here. So L, again, listening to God. This verse here is talking about how we're sheep. The Bible talks about us being sheep and how sheep really can recognize their shepherd's voice. So He's going to talk to you in a way that's very natural to you and probably unique between you and Him. So have a heart of expectation over that. It might not come immediately. For some people, it's going to be like so natural and overflowing, and for some, it's something we have to ask for. For me personally, I kind of had to knock on the door and ask, and then it was something that developed in my life gradually. So this one, the T, is Thanksgiving. This is spending time when we come to prayer, thanking God for what He does. This attitude of gratitude is what keeps prayer from being fully self-focused or entitlement-focused, right? This forces us to recognize that God is already at move. He's provided for us. He's protected us. There's so many things that we can thank Him for. For me, it would be, I often start with my family. Thank you for my children. Thank you for my husband. Right now, I'm thanking Him for my health and a safe place to live. You get the idea. This Thanksgiving is the perfect place to start. And in Psalm 10, it says that we enter His gates with thanksgiving. Not Psalm 10, Psalm 100. We enter His gates with thanksgiving. So that's how we get in the door. And then it says we enter His courts with praise, which, if you know the Old Testament tabernacle, this is a visual picture that they're telling you where the first point of entry is thanksgiving. But when you want to go deeper in, then you're going to enter His courts, and that's with praise. So the word we're using here for our acronym is adoration. This is spending time worshiping God for who He is. So Thanksgiving is a lot about what He does, specifically for us, but adoration is about who He is. And there's another video already that I've put up that's talking about specifically about adoration, how to develop adoration as a skill, how to develop vocabulary of adoration in your prayer life. The next one is confession. So when you become a believer, right, like when you agree that you're a sinner and you believe that Christ died for your sins, and you decide that He is Lord of your life, There is a moment where you are made righteous in that instant. Your sins are forgiven. That is your ticket into heaven. That is completely done. But the reality is that none of us are perfect. And so in our day-to-day lives, when we fall short, it's like bricks are added to our backpack of life. And we get heavier, and it gets a little harder to hear God. It gets a little harder to feel like he's nearby. So confession is about taking those bricks off. This is allowing God to remove the hurt, the wounding, the inadequacies of our lives. It is such a gift, and there'll be another video completely dedicated to confession. The next one is others. In fancy language, we would call this intercession in theological light. This is when we're praying for other people. So I don't know, maybe there's someone in your family that doesn't know the Lord yet, or you have a boss that's hard to work for, or a friend that's making really poor choices. There's people that you care about that you're carrying anxiety over. This is where you pray for them. I love this model because it has us go externally first. This is where you might pray for another country, that they would have a revival, that they would be missionaries sent there. This is where you might pray for your city, for the president, the governor, your mayor. Praying for others needs to be a deliberate part of our prayer life. And then the last one is praying for self. Sometimes this is deep heart things, like I need help not being angry. This is sometimes practical things like, wow, we need money for our mortgage this month, or God, I need help getting an A in this class, right? This is sometimes super practical. And sometimes this is just delightful. So one of my kids and I are praying that that we could have a new trampoline. There's a very small broken one that's here that my teenage kids are too big to really be on. So one of my kids and I are praying that we could have a trampoline. So that's not too small to bring to God. He loves to hear about what we delight in. So that is praying for self. So God bless you. I hope you're blessed by this TACO model, and I hope it helps you develop a deeper prayer life. Thank you. Bye.